Throughout Bionicle's story, numerous villains have existed as dangers to the universe and challenges for our heroes to overcome. There was the gluttonous Inona, an ancient entity who fed upon the dreams of the Iron Tribe. Later, the League of Six Kingdoms would arise to conquer and rule the Matoran universe, leaving destruction and anarchy in their wake. And of course, we cannot forget the cunning Makuta Pterodax, who led a master plot to overthrow the Great Spirit Motunui. These villains are all formidable in their own right, but none are as insane and cruel as the mad tyrant Karzahni. Unlike most villains who still contain some ounce of good within their hearts, Karzahni is a truly evil individual. Between the disturbing powers of his Kanoi and the hellish realm he rules over, Karzahni has become the bane of many beings' existence, and in this episode of Bionicle Lore Explained, we shall find out why. Hey everyone, this is Pilot and welcome back to another episode of Bionicle Lore Explained, this time for Karzahni. Last January I did a video on Karzahni's much nicer brother Artaka, so I figured this year I would continue the trend by covering the other half of this dynamic duo. Before we get started, I'd like to give a quick shout out to my Discord server. If you want to talk and get to know other Bionicle fans and participate in monthly Bionicle mock contests, then consider joining using the link below. In addition, if you wind up enjoying this video, then please consider giving it a like and subscribing. One of my main goals in 2022 is to grow this channel even further, so your support would be greatly appreciated. Now, let us begin. As always, thank you to Biosector 01 for its help in producing these videos. Biosector 01 is by far the largest and most accurate Bionicle wiki out there, and it's been a massive help in researching and gathering information for these videos. This simply would not be possible without the hard work of the Bionicle community, so thank you. Karzahni's story begins around 100,000 years ago, a time in which the Matoran universe was still in its infancy. While the many islands of the Matoran universe were still being constructed, Karzahni and his brother Artaka would both be created by the Great Beings. These brothers began on equal footing, but soon a challenge arrived that would alter the course of their lives forever. This challenge was one involving the legendary Mask of Creation. This Kanoi is one of the most powerful in existence, allowing its user to construct anything just by imagining it. Given the immense power of this Kanoi, the Mask of Creation was bound to attract the attention of both brothers. Both Karzahni and Artaka were eager to claim the mask for themselves, so the Great Beings organized a competition to determine its new owner. In the end, Artaka would be the victor, leaving Karzahni to wallow in his own hatred and self-loathing. While Artaka would receive the Mask of Creation and all the wondrous powers that came with it, Karzahni was left with the Kanoi Elisi, the Mask of Alternate Futures. This failure would make Karzahni extremely jealous of his brother Artaka, a sentiment that would only grow with time. In addition to their new Kanoi, the brothers would also receive their own realms within the Matoran universe. Artaka's realm would become a haven for the greatest among the Matoran species. Beings would journey to this island from all over the Matoran universe, bringing demands that Artaka was glad to fulfill. Karzahni's realm, on the other hand, was more of a junkyard where broken or unruly Matoran were sent to be fixed. Problem was, Karzahni lacked the skills to properly repair these Matoran, so he simply rebuilt them in weaker forms and sent them to the southern continent to hide his mistakes. Though despite Karzahni's wishes, these Matoran would not go unnoticed. The Turaga who sent these Matoran away took note of their absence, and soon after would quit sending their Matoran to Karzahni. This greatly angered Karzahni, causing him to lash out at the Matoran and blame them. Of course, this was not true, as it was Karzahni's own incompetence that caused this to happen, though regrettably that wouldn't stop Karzahni from going mad with power and begin abusing the Matoran he was supposed to fix. Karzahni would cut off all connections to the outside universe, trapping the Matoran inside his realm for good. In addition, the tyrant would also steal the Matoran's Kanoi, replacing them with his own crooked designs to strip them of their identities. This was the beginning of a cycle of abuse lasting many thousands of years, and also marked Karzahni's descent into the insane being we know today. The legend of Karzahni, as well as that of his victims, would live on in infamy. For years to come, Karzahni would exist as little more than a nightmare. That was until a group of humble Matoran would encounter him yet again. After millennia had passed, Karzahni would eventually be rediscovered during a time of great peril for the Matoran universe. Motunui was dying, to put it bluntly, and a team of 6 Matoran had set out on a quest to save the Great Spirit. This team consisted of the Ta Matoran Jaller, Ga Matoran Hali, Le Matoran Kongu, Ko Matoran Matoro, Onu Matoran Uparu, and Po Matoran Huki. Their goal would be to find the legendary Kanoi Ignaika, the Mask of Life, and use it to revive the Great Spirit Motunui. The Ignaika was located on the harsh and desolate island of Voyanui, and to get there, the Matoran would be forced to journey through Karzahni's realm. Upon their arrival, the Matoran would be brought before Karzahni and have their Kanoi replaced with strange organic masks. Jaller was particularly reluctant to give up his Kanoi, given its rich history, so Karzahni subjected Jaller to a vision where he failed to save his friend Takua. This horrified Jaller, enough to make him hand over his Kanoi Hao. The Matoran would then be put to work alongside the rest of Karzahni's Matoran, but Hali was taken aside by the tyrant. Karzahni was aware of Hali's status as a chronicler and wished to learn about the current state of the Matoran universe. Hali informed Karzahni of the imminent death of Motunui and the dire circumstances the universe was faced with. However, Karzahni of all people dismissed these claims as insane. Later, when the group attempted to take a stand against Karzahni, he would subject them to a vision of Matanui's death. This astounded Karzahni, as since the Kanohi Alisi draws upon events in alternate timelines, this meant Holly's claims had most likely been true. Stunned by this realization, Karzahni lost his concentration, and the Matoran were able to escape the vision. They then fled Karzahni's realm using 6 Toa canisters and continued on towards Voyanui. Having learned not just of Matanui but his terminal condition as well, Karzahni now saw an opportunity to seize greater power than he had ever known before. Similar to other villains like Pterodax and the Baraki, Karzahni also sought to take Matanui's position as ruler of the Matoran universe. As such, Karzahni began to reorganize his Matoran into an army, and would depart his realm for the first time in thousands of years to track down the Matoran who fled his realm. Following them to Voyanui, Karzahni would witness their transformation into the Toa Nika, as well as their struggle against the vicious Paraka. Even when the Toa Nika chased the Mask of Life into the dark oceans below Voyanui, Karzahni would stay on their trail, entering into the black waters of the pit. Upon his arrival in the pit, a former prison for the universe's most dangerous criminals, Karzahni would be exposed to its mutagenic waters. As a result, the tyrant would transform into the hideous creature seen here, and lose the ability to breathe regular air. Karzahni would become disoriented by a sudden mutation and lose sight of the Toa Nika, instead stumbling across Toa Lesovic and the Tamatoran Sarda. To give some background on this pair, Toa Lesovic was once the leader of the very first Toa team. That was until his friends were all killed by savage creatures known as Zyglak. Lesovic has always felt responsible for their deaths, and to add to this guilt, the Matoran of his home island had also been sent to Karzahni's realm. This included Sarda as well as a Gamatoran named Idris, who Lesovic had both known from his time as a Elite Matoran. For years, Lesovic would search for his friends in an attempt to redeem himself, but sadly he was unsuccessful. Now that Lesovic was finally face to face with Karzahni, the two would enter into a fierce battle. With Sarda's support, Lesovic was able to withstand the might of Karzahni, but was forced to retreat when the tyrant used his Kanohi Alisi on the Matoran. Lesovic had to back down to help his friend, but vowed to track down Karzahni and defeat him for good. Later, Karzahni would also encounter Toa Matoro and a Maxlos robot inhabited by Makuta Pterodax. Recognizing the Maxlos to be a design of his brother Artaka, Karzahni attacked, and would quickly discover Pterodax's presence inside the machine. During the battle, Karzahni attempted to use his Kanohi Alisi on the Makuta, showing Pterodax a vision where he fails to overthrow Matanui. However, Pterodax was able to break free, and used his mental powers to destroy Karzahni's psyche before launching him off an underwater cliff. Karzahni landed in the deepest recesses of the ocean and took refuge inside a cave where Lesovic and his friends would soon find him. Karzahni, still recovering from his battle with Pterodax, used his Kanohi Alisi to immobilize Lesovic. The Toa was subjected to a vision of the day his Toa team perished, except this time his team was alive and well. This had a powerful hold over Lesovic, as for once he felt free from the torment of his past. As such, the Matoran took it upon themselves to defeat Karzahni by luring him into a trap, which in turn gave Lesovic an opportunity to escape Karzahni's vision. With Karzahni now captured, Lesovic debated the tyrant's fate. He could kill Karzahni and rid the universe of his tyranny for good, or spare him and retain his honor as a Toa. In the end, Lesovic wouldn't get to choose either option, as the Order of Matanui quickly intervened, teleporting Karzahni to their headquarters on Daxia. There, Karzahni would remain in captivity for some time, later being sent back to the pit once it was fully repaired. With the eventual defeat of Makuta Pterodax by Matanui, Karzahni's mutations would be reversed and he would be transferred on the Spheres Magna. There, Karzahni would break free from his confinement, although he wouldn't be free for long as he was mysteriously killed by the Matoran Velika soon after, ending the tyrant for good. Karzahni was the type of villain who, quite frankly, was just sad. From Karzahni's defeat by Artaka to his lacking the skills to properly repair his Matoran, Karzahni has known nothing but failure. He may be among the most evil beings in the Matoran universe, but at the very least you can understand what makes him so bitter and jealous of others. This is what makes Karzahni stand out among the other villains in Bionicle. What Karzahni lacks in cunning and might is made up for by his equally insane and tragic nature, which gives him a completely different kind of motivation. Karzahni doesn't want to rule the world just for the sake of it, but instead as a means of proving others wrong, showing just how fragile he is on the inside. To wrap up this episode of Bionicle Explained, I'm interested to hear your opinions on Karzahni. Do you agree with my assessment of the character, or do you have some other thoughts you'd like to share? If so, let me know in the comment section down below, and while you're there, I'm also open to suggestions for future episodes of Bionicle Explained. I'm always looking for new things to cover in this series, so your ideas are more than welcome. Thank you for watching this episode of Bionicle Explained, and this is Pilot, signing off.